How you doing? What's your name?
I'm Caroline Strzalka.
Awesome. Caroline, are you ready to tell us about what you're building and then receive some feedback?
Sure.
You have a minute. What are you building?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Caroline Strzalka. I'm the co-founder of Overplay. Overplay is a patented no-code platform that lets anyone turn any video into a game in minutes and share it with the world for free. And so we were actually just on Shark Tank a few weeks ago, and Mark Cuban invested in us. So I think we're doing something pretty special. At least Cubes, thinks it's pretty cool, as well as a few others. Yeah. And so basically, the way it works is that you could take any video. So we call them snackable videos. So it's like TikTok for gaming. So take a 30 to 45 second video, load it into the platform. You're just dragging and dropping swipes, taps, driving, jumping, basically any input that the device can take. You can actually make it into an input in your game. And you're just dragging and dropping it at that part in the video where you want a tap to happen, a swipe, whatever. And then you're adding in interactive animations, which you're also dragging in, sound effects, music. And the way that it works,
About
gameplay.
a minute.
Okay.
You'll tell us more. Don't worry. Good job.
Good job.
What's your name again?
Caroline.
So Caroline is telling us, I think, that nowadays Shark Tank is the practice for the feedback loop. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, congratulations on the deal, by the way.
Thank you.
Made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Only on episode 6, suddenly we became the higher end.
Yeah.
So I have so many questions, but also, I'm excited about this one. Let me start, the portion of this that you think of as, let's call it technology versus go-to-market innovation, because I think I can tell you said patented as part of your pitch. So I can tell you highly prize the technology part.
Yes.
But I'll tell you everything that I thought was exciting about what you're building has to do with how easily shared it is, and the video is going to turn into this moment, not just a video. Now I can turn whatever moment that video has into an experience.
That's right.
But how do you balance what you think is important in that equation?
Yeah, we actually think that there's a positive, like a virtuous cycle where you have people who are making games, playing games that other people made, and then telling their friends and family about those games, and then making more games. So it's a virtuous cycle. So the technology where you're playing the game into existence, we think is really valuable. And it's kind of actually cool to actually have this patent when like YouTube doesn't have it, TikTok doesn't have it, like our little team has that. And we also have something else patented too. We have seamless transition between portrait and landscape mode, which is also one of these things where it's like, all of our patents were like based on the Pythagorean theorem, which is like so crazy. So like we were thinking about gaming in a whole new way along through the lens of film. And so we actually think that what we did was pretty special. And in the beginning, people were like, oh, why are you bothering with the patent and whatever? But now in like this tighter like venture atmosphere that we're in, everyone's asking, and we're like, what's your defensible moat? And we're like, well, we do have these patents, so.
One more question for me on that. The user plays an experience.
Yeah.
Does that require them to download the initial platform or download something to play the experience?
Right now, the only way to play Overplay is on Overplay. It's a the Overplay app, we have it for iOS and Android, and the only way to make an Overplay is also to make it on
Singular
Overplay
app.
right now. Yeah. But we're raising right now because one of the things that we're going to do is wrap the technology into an API that then could be integrated onto other apps and websites. So like now, say, NBA.com could take all the basketball games that happened yesterday and make it into playable highlights reels, like game playable highlights reels on NBA.com. But
that's how you got Cubes to invest, isn't it?
Yeah, I did.
I'm calling him that from
mention the
now on.
Mavericks in the pitch. Yeah.
When you said you are going to build an API, I started to think, okay, really, you're thinking tech platform. Is discovery going to be part of the app experience as well? As in, you might send me a video experience or what's it called? An overplay?
Overplay.
An overplay. I don't know if you're calling that item an overplay.
Yeah.
You might send me an overplay. And I might play one and send one back to you. Yeah. Is there a Discover feed in your vision of the future, a For You page of other experiences too?
Yeah, you can. You're being fed just like TikTok, you're being fed games that are relevant to you. So we do have an AI component where it's like, oh yeah, I like to play games on geography or sports, or like I'm really into badminton, whatever, and now you're actually playing a game. And it's people can make games, like in their backyards, they're throwing a frisbee to their dog, or it could be like professionals, or also we think it's going to be transformative for advertising. So like commercials can now be made interactive.
Yeah, that was why. Two questions that kept going. It's like, one, who is this woman? How'd you come up with that? I think this is genius, as a recovering marketer. So I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah.
But then also a little bit about revenue model.
Sure.
As a former brand person, that's where my mind goes, but I never want to assume that. So can you say a little bit more about revenue model and how you've tested that, and how the heck did you come up with this? It sounds genius.
I'll tell you how we came up with it first. So I used to work at Sesame Street, and I ran digital media business development for Sesame, and my co-founder for Overplay, he ran interactive production. And so we would make all sorts of crazy stuff for kids. So like Sesame's very first apps, but then I also did all the streaming deals with Netflix, Hulu, YouTube. So streaming, console gaming, like crazy stuff, because everyone wants to work with Sesame. So we were doing stuff with Qualcomm and Intel around AR and VR, like cutting edge stuff. But yet we're at Sesame Street, which is a nonprofit, right? So goodness and light, Elmo, but doing crazy cutting edge technology stuff. And Dan, my co-founder, he's just one of these brilliant guys that, would sit in the corner of the room, not say anything at a meeting for like the whole meeting. And then the very last thing, he'll say something and we're like, Dan spoke. That means we have to change everything because the dude's brilliant. And so one day he comes up to me and he's like, I think I came up with a way to turn any video into a game. And I was like, Dan, if you can build that MVP and we can patent it, I'm like, everyone will use this. So the way that it kind of came about is that he used to watch POV mountain biking videos on YouTube, and he felt himself like doing this, steering. And so he's like, oh, I think I can make this into a game. And so
snowboarder. So this is kind of like some of this goes through my head.
Exactly. Yeah. So now, like if you think about DDR Guitar Hero, where the goal of the games is to match the action you see on the screen, that's what all of Overplay's games are. But now it's anything. It's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like striking the right guitar chords anymore. Now you're steering a mountain bike, or you're throwing a frisbee to your dog, or you're applying makeup, or you're doing cooking. Like it could be anything. So
what about the revenue model question? That was
revenue. So we're not monetizing yet. We're going to be monetizing a little bit later this year. So the first way we're going to be monetizing is through interactive ads. So all of our ads will be games, and you might not even realize that it's an ad. So it'll just be like just how like you're served up like videos on TikTok now. So you're served up games, and we already gamified some commercials like that from last summer. Like we gamified this Bad Bunny and Pepsi commercial. It's more fun as a game than it is as like a regular commercial. And so that's one way. And then, so gamified ads. And then another way will be through the API model. So that'll be a B2B licensing model that we have with content creators.
My pitch feedback and concept feedback will mix into one. I'm worried for you. You have such a good idea, and I can see each approach, but only as their own startup. A technology platform that allows other people to build this, integrate it. We have the patent, but we're going to create ads that are interactive. We're going to create interactive TikToks, but fueled by our technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that would be a hard enough challenge and startup on its own. Then there's a version of you that is more like a TikTok. It's a discover feed. It's a shareability feed. And you're trying to go to users and say, build this thing and share with each other, have a profile on our platform. And that is a startup that is hard in itself. It's not that your pitch isn't clear because you're trying to be all these things, but it makes me concerned to hear all these great ideas are pouring out of you. But as a founder, I can feel the different obstacles that'll hit you on each and then distract from the other one and create, a little bit of that execution lift. But I think again, proof is in the pudding in terms of getting Cubes on board. You have a great story. But where again, my pitch and concept feedback go is, man, is it too many stories or is it like too stuffed of value, which I know is a little interesting, but how do you feel about it?
I can live with it. Like I get it. Like again, recovering marketer. Like I get it. Like yes, I do think that's that's go to market, ICP, and just thinking through like many things at one, doing too many things at one time is a concern.
Every
It's like a
founder does
yellow
it.
flag for me. Like a minor yellow is nowhere
Maybe
near.
even green. Maybe good founders just always are trying to.
My big thing is like work your story. I mean, yeah, I made content. I made games for kids all the time who couldn't make any money at Sesame Street, and I did this all the time. And and this why I was like, that's such a rich, fulsome, and it actually helps me understand some of your perspective on the product. So I think it's great. I would love to learn more. So it sounds great.
Yay.
Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Super interesting though, when you hear all of these technology platform, but we have a go-to-market that is a little more direct pitches. I feel like this happens pretty often. Someone comes up with, technology innovation on the user experience side and says, we can both package it as an API, as an SDK, whatever it might be, but we can also deliver it as the app and user experience. How do you deal with the quandary there? Or I don't know, maybe you again think it's not a big problem.
Here's my take as a founder. A couple of things. Like, I don't care which one wins. It's perfectly plausible for me as an investor or advisor.
This early on, especially.
Just here's what I'm thinking about: setting up an experiment, and whichever one wins. I'm an investor in a company called Enrichly, and they sell self-esteem education in schools. And the founder had two theses. One, we could sell to schools directly, and then the other one, we could think about making this a mental health payer system. These are two massive, great. She ran
huge
appropriate tests in both.
Yeah,
schools got $1 million ARR in a few months. Great, we're going to do that. We'll get to the payers later, right? So
and then it doesn't matter if they do or not, as long as that other path is taking off.
As they say, this is why we play the game.
Yeah,
this is why we play the game.